Welcome to the mayhem, everyone. Kathmandu, Nepal. This is what it looks like today. It's a little overcast, and I'm just on the roof of the guest house where I'm staying at right now. But I wanted to go over, a lot of people do trekking in Nepal, and I'm on an expedition, so I have some gear that's a little overkill for trekking, but I'm going to go through a pretty complete trekking list for those who might be interested in doing, for example, the Everest Base Camp trek, or the Annapurna circuit, or maybe you're doing something a little bit bigger like around Makalu, or circumnavigating Dhaulagiri, for example. But we've got a lot of clothing here, and medications, sunscreen, water treatment, and I'm going to go through it piece by piece so we get a really detailed account. So first of all, starting over here with the backpacks, I have 3 packs with me. Again, I'm doing an expedition, so some of this is overkill depending on the type of trekking you're doing. Most trekking, this would be overkill, but I have a large expedition-sized duffel, and I encourage people to get a really large quality duffel that's over 100 liters in size. These duffel bags are not only good for transporting your gear from your international destination to Kathmandu, but also once you arrive, porters oftentimes will use these to transport your kit. They prefer using duffel bags with thumb straps on their forehead as opposed to carrying backpacks oftentimes. And also sometimes your gear needs to go on jeeps. If you have an internal flight that's not able to fly, you might take jeeps instead. Or your trailhead might just normally be accessed by jeeps, and it can be rainy. So along with that duffel bag, this is a waterproof duffel, but oftentimes I'll have a contractor bag that's like a 3 millimeter thick or 3 mm thick plastic bag, like a trash bag, but much more durable, and I'll line that as well for my gear, so if it's going on top of a jeep, it will stay waterproof. Here is more of a common sized trekking pack. This is about 35 liters. I'd say 35 to 40 liters is more than sufficient if you have porters that are going to carry your sleeping bags and maybe some of your other gear. If you're not hiring porters, but you're only going with a guide, which is now legally required for all trekking in Nepal, then you're going to need a larger backpack than 35 to 40 liter pack. And if you're not going, say, above 17,000 feet as part of your trek, then you might be able to get away with like a 50 liter backpack. Otherwise, you may need to go up, depending on the quality of your sleeping bag, the fineness of the down, etc. You might even need to go up to 60 liter pack. Because I'm doing an expedition, I have a 75 liter backpack here, and you can see I've also lined that with a contractor bag. And then here's my sleeping bag. This is a 0 degree Fahrenheit rated Mountain Hardwear bag, 850 fill down. Packs down reasonably small, and I have it in a waterproof stuff sack. And if you have porters, oftentimes your porter will carry your sleeping bag. Don't forget that the porter doesn't have to only carry your equipment, but also their own equipment. So be mindful to still pack light, even if you have porters. Be kind to the people that are going out with you. I have some trekking poles. Some people like just to bring one trekking pole. I have 2 here because I'll have a much heavier pack. And then it depends on the trek you're doing, but some treks, for example, if you're doing the 3 Passes trek in the Everest region, then you go over a pass that has glacier on it. And so sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's advantageous to have some traction devices. So you don't need full-on crampons, but here I have some Catula micro spikes, and then these right here are gaiters, small ankle gaiters that just add a little bit of warmth. The shoes that I typically use, I don't like boots. I find boots are a little overkill and heavy on the feet and cause more blisters. I use Gore-Tex trail running shoes. And normally I don't like Gore-Tex shoes because they don't breathe well, but at high altitude, due to the vapor pressure gradient, the much lower pressure, they breathe much better than you might expect in other environments, and they keep your feet a lot warmer. So I actually do prefer Gore-Tex shoes when I'm guiding in Nepal for the trekking portion, which may include just the hike to a base camp if you are climbing. Some other footwear here. I have some lightweight compressible synthetic fill booties. You don't need like a full-on expedition booty for like Denali. I just keep it light, and it's also cheaper that way, and it's going to keep your pack a little bit more empty. I have some flip-flops. A lot of times I'll just use these in the shower. Also, some people like to bring Crocs, which are a little more versatile than flip-flops because you can wear socks inside them, and that works also pretty well for airing your feet out in the lodges that you're staying, or tea houses. And then for, the socks, usually I like to have 3 pairs of trekking socks. I have a pair that I'm wearing right now. So 3 pairs of trekking socks that come a little above the ankle, so that when I'm wearing these gaiters, it reduces ankle rub. It also, having a mid-height trekking sock reduces a little bit of the gravel going into your footwear, but not essential. So 3 pairs of mid-length, and I would say light to medium weight cushioned trekking socks. I really like Darn Tough as a brand. And then this is just a fleece pair of socks that I use just for sleeping, and nothing more. Okay, so we'll zoom out here. So this item you might want if you're coming in shoulder season doing some trekking, or if you're going to altitudes above 17,000 feet and staying in lodges that are above 16,000 feet, which is common on a number of trekking routes. This is just a lightweight pair of down pants. You can buy down pants in Kathmandu for a fraction of the cost that you'd find it in many European or North American countries. So it's not a bad idea to wait until you arrived in Kathmandu to buy some down-filled pants. You can get down-filled pants low quality for as little as about $25 US, and then higher quality, if you look around for Nepali brands like Alpine Design at Shona's shop, you can find them there for 7,500 rupees, which at current exchange rate, that's about $60 US. And those have a full side zipper, 600 fill down, and they're weigh about 1 pound, but are suitable for even like Denali, super warm. But I just brought this lightweight pair from home. And then I have some long johns. I have 2 layers of long johns here. One is a lighter weight layer, and then one is a heavier weight layer. This is great for the expedition that we're doing, being able to layer the long johns. If you're just doing Everest Base Camp trek, something like that, then having 1 pair of long johns is fine. And then if you need to wash them, just be mindful they might take a while to dry. So if you wash them and dry them, you'll probably be wearing your trekking pants plus your down pants while you're waiting for those to dry. So you might have some colder days if you need to wash those. And then I like to bring 2 pairs of soft shell pants. 1 pair is lighter weight or thinner, because at lower altitude, for example, if you're starting around 9,000 feet or 2,800 meters or so, that would be considered low altitude for trekking in the mountains in Nepal. It can actually be quite warm during the popular trekking season. So, 22 degrees Celsius, 70 degrees Fahrenheit at those altitudes. So a lightweight pair of pants for the first few days and the last few days of your trip, getting higher into the mountains before you're high in the mountains, can be really nice. And then a heavier weight pair can be nice for a little bit higher up, and it gives you some versatility if you need to wash a pair as well. And then I have a pair of overpants with full side zips, and rain is more and more common in Nepal, getting into even late October. This season, 2024, monsoon rain was quite strong all the way through early October, causing a lot of flooding events, and it's continued to rain almost every day, as you can see. And we're going to be going into November here next week. So it's good to have some things to protect you from rain, but also up high, this adds a lot of warmth and protects you from wind. And then I have a bathing suit. The bathing suit is super handy because, some locations, depending on the trek you're doing, there are actually hot showers you can purchase for, between $4 and $6 US, something like that. It's about what the exchange rate works out to be currently. But a lot of times, it's just a bucket shower outside. And so if you have a bathing suit, you can just stand outside and give yourself a bath, or give yourself a little sponge bath. And that provides a little bit more privacy than the other option, just going in your underwear. Sun shirt. I usually will pack 2 sun shirts, and that works as my base layer. I may also pack a short-sleeved synthetic t-shirt, and that works almost like the underwear for my upper body. So I can just wash the t-shirt, which it's a little more lightweight and dries a little faster than a sun shirt. Otherwise, I'll bring 2 sun shirts, and sun protection is extremely important at the altitudes you'll be going to. I can't overstate that. And then this is a grid fleece that just has a windbreaker on top of it, so it adds a little bit of warmth. Wind oftentimes is one of the things that cools you the most in Nepal, especially if it's shady and windy at altitudes above 16,000 feet. But any grid fleece is fine, doesn't have to be wind blocking, because you'll also have a rain jacket. And I would recommend, you know, you don't need to go with some crazy expensive Gore-Tex Pro ski shells. You know, this is an extremely lightweight pair of rain pants that I'm using on an expedition even. And then I would keep this, you know, at a lightweight 2.5 layer or even a 2-layer item for the waterproof. So light is right in this case. You don't need tons of weather protection. And then I have a synthetic fill jacket right here. This one is actually I haven't used it in Nepal before, but it's been working out quite a bit rock climbing and guiding alpine routes in California. This one is made by Ibex. It's actually stuffed with wool, and I found it pretty warm, every bit as warm as my Rab and Arc'teryx synthetic fill jackets. So I'm going to go with that one this time. And then I have pretty much an expedition quality down parka here. This one's no longer made. It's the Nylos by Mountain Hardwear, which was partially designed by Uli Steck before he passed. But anything will work in this regard. And now there are a few Nepali companies that are making really high quality down garments as well. You can get 850 fill to 900 fill down products in Nepal. And one of the better companies that I found here in Kathmandu is called Raiko. That's R-A-I-K-O. There's only 6 trekking shops in Tamil, the tourist district, that have Raiko products, so you have to look around a little bit. But one is called ABC Trekking. Yeah, 900 fill down that they use, and incredibly reasonably priced. So if you're looking for something and you don't already have it, that's a great option. And then zoom in here. So I have some gloves. 2 sets of gloves are nice. One that's lightweight wind blocking, and ideally it's touchscreen compatible, so you can take photos with your phone. And the other one pair here is a little bit heavier weight. It's also waterproof, which at the altitude I'm using these gloves, I'm usually not that worried about it being waterproof, but it does add warmth having that breathable waterproof liner inside. So 2 pairs of gloves is usually sufficient for trekking, no problem. And for expeditions, I usually will actually carry 4 pairs total. That includes a very lightweight pair of backup down mitts in case I or one of my guests loses some handwear. Okay, so now some nitty gritties down here. This is an insulating parka for my water bottle. This actually should go over there with all the water stuff, which we'll get to. I'll go over that in a moment. I have a small stuff sack here, silicone impregnated nylon, that I use for all of my electronics. Kind of go in that sack, keeps things organized. And some of the electronic things I have this is a charger for lithium-ion batteries that I have a very powerful headlamp for expedition guiding. It's a Zebralight MK4. I think it's 1,450 lumens, something like that, and takes a rechargeable lithium-ion battery. So it's incredibly powerful and it's really great. I have a 10,000 milliamp Anchor power bank. That's really helpful for charging my phone, which I use for navigation and planning, communication, and of course videos and photography as well. I have some cables and a little plug that allows me to use one outlet for 2 USB ports. And then this is a solar panel, flexible solar panel by PowerFilm Solar, 25 watts. So it's pretty large. It's a little bit more than most people would need, you know, and it probably weighs 1.2 pounds. So certainly more weight than you need to bring. PowerFilm Solar also makes a very small, I think 3.2 ounce item called the Lightsaver, I believe. That's really great. Also has a really large solar charging surface, similar to this one, but much lighter and much smaller. I have some lighters because I'll be using stoves out there. Even if you're not going to be using stoves, bring one lighter is nice. Bics tend to work a little better at high altitude. They just produce more sparks, what helps the fuel ignite a little more than some other brands. And then I have a few snacks here. Don't go overboard with bringing snacks from home because there's plenty that you can purchase along the trekking route. And I find that's what's going to add the most weight to your bag or your porter's bag is food. So just keeping it relatively simple. I have 4 packets of Gatorade mix. This can be really helpful, especially if you get dehydrated from getting sick, or if you just need to recover from going over a high altitude pass. And then I have, this is actually a prepared lunch. One of the climbs we're doing to acclimatize is called the Buche East, which is a fairly straightforward 20,000 foot peak. And so that's my lunch for the Buche, but this could also be your lunch for going over one of the high altitude passes like the Chola. And you'll notice it's just basically carby foods. So drink powders are in here. Let's back this up a bit. This white powder here is maltodextrin powder, which you can buy on the internet. It's quite affordable. And I don't really recommend that you get some of these fancy, ultra long distance, highly salty, highly sugary beverages that are marketed to endurance athletes because I find the strong flavoring, a lot of times they'll use strong citrus flavors, can be really hard on your stomach at altitude. And a large salt content, even if it's in the form of helpful electrolytes, can make you vomit sometimes. So just having something simple, maltodextrin is basically, it's as digestible as glucose for your body. Some say it actually has a higher GI index than glucose. So it's a very, very quick, simple fuel. And unlike a lot of other things you could put in your drink, like just pure sugar, this amazingly doesn't make your beverage taste sweet. So I find it's much more palatable at high altitude when you tend to lose your appetite. And then I have some energy chews and then just basic energy bars. And you'll notice there's really very little fat, fiber, or protein going on in this bag. It's just carbs. I do have a bag of protein powder. It can be hard to get a lot of protein on board at some locations, depending on the trek you're doing. But if you are not vegetarian, or even if you're not vegan and you are vegetarian, it's pretty easy to get protein if you look for it. Eggs are very common in the diet, and lots of dairy products as well. Although a note on the dairy, I would stay away from local cheese, and I would also stay away from fresh milk if you happen to be in more rural areas. Away from, Everest Base Camp Track is mostly powdered milk, but for the most part, most of us it wouldn't be great for us to digest. Even a lot of the Sherpas I work with who now live in Kathmandu, if they go back home and eat milk from their farms, they get pretty sick. Not only bacteria, but also viruses sometimes in the milk products. And I just have a small pack towel, roll of toilet paper that always stays with me. You can't always guarantee that restrooms at your lodges are going to have toilet paper. And then for sunscreen, I usually use like between 45 and 70 SPF. It doesn't matter to a great degree. You'll see recommended mineral sunscreens, and I use those for a long time. But the problem with mineral sunscreen is if you rub your skin, the mineral sunscreen tends to rub off. So you'll end up with like a slash on your skin of bright red where you just brushed up against your backpack. So what I do these days is I've gone with chemical-based sunscreens like this Neutrogena, and then I'll sometimes layer a mineral sunscreen on top of it if I'm at extreme altitude. But generally at those altitudes, I'm pretty covered up with clothing. So this seems to be pretty sufficient. And then in this bag, I've separated out 3 1-ounce tubes of sunscreen, and I've filled those up. And I just got those tubes on Amazon. And I find, having those 3 ounces plus even just one of these other additional sunscreens is usually sufficient for the amount of skin you'll have exposed, even in a relatively long trek. But I threw one more in there because I'm a leader on the trip and I want to make sure I have sufficient to supplement. But many of the villages and popular treks, you can buy more sunscreen as needed, like in Namche Bazaar or Dingboche or Lukla, anything like that on the Everest Base Camp trek. Okay, and then I have some lip balm here that has sunscreen in it. Dermatone face, which also has sunscreen, but I'll apply that to my face at higher altitude when it's cold. It actually keeps me a lot warmer just having that on my face, and rocks wind quite well. And then this is a dermatone mineral sunscreen, so I'll use that on my face as kind of a touch-up, especially on the bridge of my nose and on my cheeks. This is Zote soap, which is really popular in a lot of places in the world for washing clothes. So it's just a brick instead of a powder. So I'll hand wash my clothes as I go, and half a bar of that is plenty for hand washing clothing. And then this right here is a shampoo bar. So instead of taking liquid shampoo, which explodes in your backpack at high altitude due to pressure differences, I just take a shampoo bar, and that cuts down on mess and makes it for easy transport. And then this is just my toiletries. It's in my room right now. I have earplugs and a sleeping mask, but that will come with me too. And then in here, I just have a razor and portable toothbrush and dental floss and a set of nail clippers. This is money. This isn't actually all of it. There's more in my pack, but I buy these. These are made out of like just some kind of a nylon. It's a small pouch made for pencils. I bought these on Amazon, and those work really well for Nepali bills. They're very durable. They tend to last well, and they're large enough to accommodate the larger sized bills. Nepali money is larger in size than US money, so if you get envelopes that are designed for US money, they're not going to fit the Nepali bills unless you fold them. And a note on that, you want to bring with you, if you can, you want to bring Nepali notes that aren't torn, that are relatively new. So if you can go to an actual bank as opposed to a money changer, typically you'll be able to get cleaner currency. If your money is particularly torn up, then they may not take it at some of the lodges. Okay, and then this is part of my medical kit that I'm bringing, but this would be sufficient if you were a guest on a trek, something about that size. And antimicrobials and altitude prescription medications are very helpful, including things like Diamox, Cipro, which is an antibiotic, azithromycin, another antibiotic. And then if you're going to high enough altitudes or doing an expedition, then you might want dexamethasone as well, and check to see if your party is bringing oxygen for emergency use. I have some eyewear here. Jilbos are quite popular products. They don't fit my face very well. I have a pretty narrow face, but that's what I'm bringing out anyway. This one, these are photochromatic, so they change color when things are darker, which is nice if you're having stormy weather. And then this is a pair of Spectron 4, which don't change but are extremely dark, so that's nice in really bright weather. And if you're out for a long period of time, then I definitely recommend you bring 2 pairs of sunglasses so you have a backup. Or if someone in your party, including maybe a Nepali porter or one of your guides, doesn't have sufficient eyewear, then you'll have some that you can share. And one thing that people don't realize is, many times when you hire local people, they have their own equipment, but it may not be sufficient for the conditions you're out in, and it's really your responsibility to take care of the folks that you hire for your trek. Okay, I brought an umbrella. I've been bringing this pretty frequently. It's ultralight umbrella, and I've been very happy because rain has been more of a constant in recent years in the standard trekking season. So that's really nice because then you don't wet out your hiking wear and then get wet to the bone. But also it's really great for sun protection. So not required by any means, but it can be really helpful. I've got an InReach Mini, which is a satellite texting device that requires a plan. And I find that is great for communicating back home when you don't have reception. But if you are willing to get an eSIM, if your phone will accommodate one, then you could use an eSIM and then use local cell phone towers to get reception to use local data. So that can be quite nice. And you can also purchase internet at many of the lodges. This is a backup headlamp, which really wouldn't be necessary if you're just doing trekking, but for climbing it's good to have at least one backup light source for every 2 or 3 people in your climbing party. So that's a Black Diamond 500 lumen Storm rechargeable lamp. And then water treatment, it's hard to overstate. So all water coming out of taps in Nepal, for the most part, Westerners wouldn't want to drink it, including in Kathmandu. And so most hotels or guest houses in Kathmandu will have clean water outside of your room in jugs where you can just fill your water bottle up. But once you're in the mountains, a lot of the water is from streams and then gravity fed through pipes into the facility where you're staying. So you'll want to treat that. It's just straight from the ground, essentially. And so a couple options for filters. This is a group water filter. It's a platypus, which is quite lightweight. And then this other option here, which I usually recommend the guests bring at an individual level, is a BeFree. That's BeFree, BeFree water filter. I think that's made by Katahdin. And the BeFrees, they do tend to clog up if you're using water with lots of particulate in it. So it's not a bad idea to bring 2 filter caps. This bottle that the BeFree filter is attached to is a Hydra Pack bottle, and that's a 1 liter. And I just remember that that is for dirty water. So I'll only use that for dirty water, and I'll squeeze that into my Hygiene bottle here. And Hygiene are really great because you can put hot water in them and then put it in your sleeping bag. And with the design of the Hygiene bottle, you don't have a fear that the bottle might break under the pressure of the heated liquid, or that it would leak. So I prefer Hygiene as opposed to most other. And if you could also bring a metal water bottle, but if you did bring metal, then you'd want to put it inside of a sock before you put it in your sleeping bag so you don't burn yourself at night. And then I have a thermos bottle. This is a GSI Microlite 1 liter thermos bottle. And you know, your longer days, you'll definitely want 2 liters of water going over some of the passes. The shorter days, or even some of the longer days, we're not at quite as high of altitude, you'll be passing by lodges, you know, every 3 to 4 hours of trekking typically. And so you can just fill up your water bottle at those lodges or tea houses. And you can also get tea there and everything else. So I think that about covers it. This is essentially what you would want to bring for trekking in Nepal. And once again, items that the porters would carry typically would be your sleeping bag and any of these odds and ends, like your spare pair of sunglasses, your toiletries, anything you didn't need immediate access to during the day. Also maybe your extra set of clothes. All right, feel free to reach out if you all have any questions, and thanks for watching.